do we know when we're getting it right? You know, it seems to me a lot of boards get freaked out about governance when there may be other problems at hand. But because as we started this conversation, maybe they don't understand really how they should be performing, what the vernacular really is and what it means. But going in the other direction, how do we know? I mean, is this only something that comes up when we have problems?
Julia, because I do think this complicated question actually has a fairly simple answer. Has your board spent time answering the question, what would we consider the optimal board for our cause? Have we had a conversation about what do we as a group of people agree constitutes the optimal board for this cause? And it's not something that we hired a whole bunch of other people to come in and tell us what we should be. And people have to take ownership in, is this the optimal board? And the optimal board in 2010 will probably be different than the optimal board in 2020. I often like to have board retreats where the whole conversation is about, please tell me about what it would mean to have an optimal board for this organization. Wow. And then how do you know it's in place? Because you make a commitment to do an annual assessment. If you have agreed, these are the benchmarks of an optimal board that we've agreed to. And we have a governance committee or a board development committee that puts a strategy in place to oversee that what constitutes an optimal board in our shared opinion. Then we take an annual assessment to see how we're doing. That's when you know what's in place. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that we all have to remember is I often think that we refer to boards as though they're a person. And that, you know, how do I make my board better? That's like saying, how do I make my child better, my parent better, my mother, you know, behave differently. Boards are not a being. Boards only change and grow because board members have been allowed to grow and change. A board is nothing more than the summation of the people around the table. So if you want to develop your board, you have to realize it happens one board member at a time.
You know, it makes me think when I hear you speak like this, that one of the big profiles should be, or words that we're using around our board members should be like champion and ambassador, and people that are going to be the voice, if you will, of the cause and going forward and rallying support versus that C-suite management approach.
Folks who were probably on your founding board described themselves as activists or advocates. They didn't even talk about such nice things as ambassador or they were activists. When most of the nonprofits in this country were going to fight homelessness, we're going to make sure that children were not abused, that women had the right to vote, that all voices met. They didn't do that because they were ambassadors. Right. They did it because they were going to be advocates and they were going to have activism. And until our boards go back to what got us into business, I am convinced that's what's going to keep us in business. And Julia, we've got a generation of people that are not going to support you because of what you do. They're going to support you because of what you stand for. And if they only see the staff standing up and standing for something, that delivers a huge message. They want people saying, this is wrong. This is right. And I'm going to give to that. How can I contribute to make sure that there is a 4-year-old in our community that is not going to go to bed hungry, is not going to go to bed feeling unsafe, is going to feel that they are in a caring and loving home and they're ready and prepared to go to school? I want to contribute to that. Mm-hmm. What we as nonprofits have to figure out is how they can do that. And if it's to sit in the boardroom and tell the staff how to act, I got to tell you, that is not how the original board made it possible for children's advocacy organizations to get off the ground. And there are some fabulous children's organizations in the state of Arizona with the Arizona Children's Campaign that was started many years ago. And that's a key word, that when you work and are part of an organization that is an advocating organization, you stop talking about a fundraising plan. You talk about a campaign plan. What is our campaign? It's a campaign for children. It's a campaign to end homelessness. And you know what? Every time we come into this boardroom, we've got to see, are we campaigning as we should?
Wow.
That creates what's called movements.
Right.
And that's the difference between governing a corporation and governing a cause. Causes thrive because they are moving. They are moving people and communities to higher ground in a quality of life that all of us want to share and we call home.